Hey everybody, this is GamerKat09 and welcome back to the 10-year anniversary miniseries. I guess that's the most appropriate way to call this because I think I called it 10 years YouTube behind. Yeah, so 10-year anniversary miniseries. We'll go with that. In the end of the last video, I said that today we were going to be expanding into the Fatal Frame series because appropriately, this was a series that I had found and discovered and adapted to the channel that really took off and really received really well feedback from people and really well everything, actually. Like, I realized, I think at this point when I started to get more into the horror genre, like we talked about in the last video, that the more that I played scarier games for the first time, it was a lot more fun. It was creepier, it was genuine, it just overall worked out a lot better. Now, this is probably going to be a long part because there are some things that we have to talk about in regards, at least to the first game, which is, and I have the cases this time, Fatal Frame 1. Oh, I'll do this way because otherwise it'll reflect off of the screen. I wonder if I minimize this and maybe there we go. That's a little bit better. So yes, Fatal Frame. And this game, I remember having to order on eBay. I paid a lot of money for it at the time. These games are not really that easy to get. Like, you could get them, but if you want a brand new copy, it's super expensive. If you want a used copy, you know, you also have the risk of it not really working because sometimes people try to sell used copies as broken copies. If you do get lucky, a used copy is not that badly damaged. The case is still in fairly good condition. This was a used copy, so I actually lucked out with this game that it wasn't like overly worn or anything. Like, even the manual is like new pretty much. I think this was like a barely used game. But regardless, Fatal Frame. So there is a big story behind Fatal Frame that I played on my channel, and depending how long some of you have been around, have been watching my stuff, have been a subscriber, you may or may not know about this situation. Some of the newer people post 2010 probably aren't aware of any of this happening. So before I can even delve into the game and, you know, what it's done and what kind of, you know, game it was to me personally, I have to explain the situation that this Let's Play had caused with my channel. Now, I'm speaking in terms of the fact that when I started playing this game as a Let's Play for my channel, I wanted to play alongside somebody who was going to be kind of like my co-host in this Let's Play. You know how, like, you see it a lot more now in a different form, but people always do collaborations with other people. And the whole goal of the collaboration is you kind of team up and you are able to be recognized from one channel or the other, and people kind of get their names out there by collaborating with people. So like, sometimes somebody will collaborate with a more famous person so that way that other person can get views on their channel. Like, it's kind of a win-win situation. Collabing has kind of changed over the years. Now it's not necessarily solely for games. People collab makeup tutorials, people collab, you know, for documentaries and all kinds of stuff. But at the time that I was starting off my YouTube channel, I was I was with a group of friends of all these people that I had met through YouTube, through the internet, and we all spent a lot of time together online. We would play a lot of games together. We would chat on Skype all the time, and we just really got to know each other and enjoyed each other's company. It was great, especially for me at the time because I was in college. A lot of my friends had moved out of the area. They were busy, or, you know, they were also doing other stuff. You know how it is when you're an adult and everybody parts ways and you don't hear from anyone for like 6, 7, 8 months. And it was nice to be able to come home from work, you know, while I was recording and preparing stuff for my channel and be able to talk with people, you know, that were familiar with what I did, who respected what I did, and who would help me do more stuff for the channel. So this was kind of one of those situations where I had met a girl named Skye, aka Skye Blue 1022, who became part of this group of friends, and we agreed upon doing kind of a collab for Fatal Frame. And what brought it about was Skye was really into Fatal Frame. She played it a lot. She knew the ins and outs of it. She played it multiple times. She was obsessed with it. Like, a lot of people were really obsessed with horror games, especially Fatal Frame at that time, but I had never played it. So we kind of agreed I would get the game, we would collab on it, you know, and everything would be fine. Except everything wasn't fine. It was far from fine. And I'm speaking about this, you know, many, many, many years later. Like, this is like 7 or 8 years later after the fact that it had happened. So I'm not going to bring this up in a way where I'm going to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not going to point fingers or point blame. What's done is done. And unfortunately, nothing can be taken back what was said and done. So it's just one of those things that I have to live with, that I fucked up in the way that I handled it. And, you know, we were both wrong. We were both very young and immature, and we're just moving on. But I'm just explaining the situation so people will understand what had happened in kind of a more respectful, mutual approach to it, rather than attacking somebody over something that happened way long ago. So Skye and I got together in October of 2009 to record this, and the whole theme was that it was Halloween time, and I wanted to play something really, truly terrifying for Halloween, so I chose Fatal Frame. And she agreed to collab with me, and my setup for collabing was not the greatest. It was terrible. It was like I had to use... I don't even know at the time that I had a webcam. I think literally in the beginning it was just like audio. So all Skye would have heard was just like my voice in the video game. I don't think she could see anything at the time. I don't think I started incorporating that till later. But she was just basically a guest that was just providing commentary, and that was it. Like, it was a really, truly shitty setup, but I did the best that I could with what I had, and she had agreed to do it. And this entire thing, by the way, which I have to also explain, is Fatal Frame was 63 parts. It was a very long game. But I think halfway through or towards the end, YouTube had finally allowed people to have 15-minute long videos instead of 11. So we got like an extra 4 minutes out of it. So that's why also the parts are so long. Realistically, it probably could have been like 20-ish parts and been fine. But when we got together back in the day to do this, there were a lot of different things to consider in the situation. One, I was in college and I was working a part-time job, and 2, she was in high school, and 3, we lived on 2 different sides of the country. So she was all the way out west in Arizona, and I am still all the way east in Pennsylvania. So time zone was a huge issue. Time schedule was a huge issue. There was a lot of things to consider. And at the time that I had recorded, my method of recording was, you know, long periods of time. It was like recording 2 to 3 to 4 hours at a time. And it was kind of silly for me to demand someone to sit there and listen in and provide commentary for such a long period of time. So that was the first issue, was those situations combined. And then the second one being that I was terrible at the game. I was not that great in it in the beginning. I was really terrified of playing it. The ghosts truly freaked me out. And it took forever for me to get anywhere in the game. I would constantly die to bosses. I would constantly have to replay the same parts over and over again. But I was learning. I was very slowly learning, but I was learning. And then about, I'm trying to see, I think it was part 47. Up to part 47 was the last point that Skye had recorded with me. And then it became a huge issue. Now, the huge issue was when I had tried to arrange a time to get together to record, because I had already gone this far into recording this game that I just didn't want to continue it without her. I thought that was unfair. So I would keep trying to reach out to her and be like, hey, do you want to record? Do you want to record? When are we going to record? And it was always, I'm busy, or something comes up. I'm not going to be home. I didn't get your message. It was just something and something and something. I think what it came down to was she no longer wanted to be a part of it, but she also didn't want to hurt my feelings over it. And I didn't want to hurt her feelings by kicking her out of it. And then the whole miscommunication thing blew out of proportion between both of us. And basically, recording this game ruined our friendship. And that's really sad to say. And I can look back on this now as an adult and be like, it was my fault. I was a bitch during the entire time. And there's nothing that I can do today that could take back anything I said or did, or how I reacted to it. If I was able to go back in time and treat the entire situation different, I would in a heartbeat. But that's unrealistic and never going to happen. I don't have Max Caulfield powers, so it's not going to happen. But having not being able to get together to record, and I would wait and I would wait and I would wait, and I was being pressured, I felt. And maybe it was just imaginary pressure, because I was by no means insanely popular. I didn't have a insanely large group of followers. It's not like I had, as many as I did today. I think I maybe have had like a couple thousand, if that, subscribers that were watching this. But I had people asking me, when is the next part coming up? When are you going to play more? And I felt pressured because I wanted to record more. I was able to record more, but the person who I'd started the game with was never available to record. So it put me in a really bad decision, and I didn't want to be a bad guy. But I ended up being a bad guy because I was like, hey, I got to get this done. So I tried to take effective measures. I tried to be like, hey, do you want to finish this, or do you want me to replace you? And would not hear back, or would not really get a definite answer. And then other things started to happen. So like we stopped talking. She stopped being on Skype and talking to me, and like just a bunch of other stuff. So this went on, this whole like back and forth and what if and should I do this was like almost 6 months that went without recording. So like from the time that I had completed part 47 with Skye and the time that I ended up beginning part 48 with somebody else was just 6 months of just absolute like chaotic bullshit that happened in between from both sides, from both parties. And I think, and I don't remember exactly what had happened or what had led up to it exactly. I don't know if it was something I had said or did. It might have been because I was pushy, I was bossy, I was trying to get things done, and I was trying to approach it in a way that was a little bit too demanding, especially of someone who, I wasn't even paying to participate with me. It's not like she was getting money. It's not like, I was holding her hostage against it. I was just like, I need to get this done. I need you to record this. So I was very bossy about it, which understandably, if someone's really bossy about doing something you don't feel like doing, you're going to be like, fuck you. And that's what happened. But then a video had came out that Skye had made, and I will never be able to confirm whether or not it was true or directed, but the video had appeared to be directed towards the situation that was going on between us. And in the heat of the moment, around the time that everything was going on, it was like something just kind of sparked in me. And I was just like, oh no, this is not fucking happening. And I took offense to it because I thought she was angry at the situation, that she had made this video directed about, you know, her feelings about a certain person, and like how, you know, this person should have just not been involved or not have pushed as far. And like I said, in the heat of the moment, felt like it was directed towards me. If it was or wasn't, I can't definitely confirm. And I can't really ask Skye directly anymore if that is the case. But because of that moment, it spiked a war between us. And it was a very nasty, ugly war. And I say this in a way where I did not react as you might have thought I would have reacted. Like, today, GamerKat09 would just be like, whatever, it's okay, I don't care about it. But 8 years ago, I was like, oh no, I'm going to make a video in retaliation. I'm going to tell her to fuck off. I'm going to do this and that. And it was just completely unlike me. I felt like confused about the situation. I felt very angry about the situation. I felt like, you know, in a way, I felt like I was doing her a favor and this was the thanks I got kind of thing. But this game, this whole collaboration and Let's Play taught me a lot. It taught me a lot about communicating with people, and it taught me about to be careful with who I picked to Let's Play with. And that, you know, there's so many more things to consider. And if you notice, I don't really collab with people anymore. Like, if I do, it's once in the blue moon, very rare, but I don't really collab with people unless I know for sure, guarantee, can prove, or am assured that this person is going to see me through the game to the end. I won't say yes. And at the time, everybody was collabing with people on gaming channels. Everybody was kind of doing like mashup skits and stuff. And I wanted to be involved, and I wanted to try that out. And this was one of the first ones that I had decided to do. And it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. There were other people that I had collabed with in other Let's Plays over the years that went fine, that went well, because there was communication. You know, if someone wasn't able to record, we would just delay it, but people would get back. It was just, when it all came down to it, it was just communication. And it was something that Skye and I didn't have very well, unfortunately. And because of that whole thing, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to call it exactly like in a way that, oh, it's all her fault, it's all my fault. We're both to blame. We were both very young and immature and didn't handle it properly. It was terrible. But because of that, like, Fatal Frame almost got canceled. And I also had a moment because of the fight that was going on between us during those couple of months. I wasn't sure about the outcome of Fatal Frame. I wasn't sure if, because we were fighting, she would allow me to keep the parts up, you know, or make me take them down. So I didn't even know if I should just quit the whole game, start from the beginning with somebody else, or what. But then I also felt in a way that if I had done that, then I would basically have let Skye win, which is kind of a really silly concept because nobody won in this situation. Nobody. Like, but I was being very greedy and pushy and bossy at the time, so I wanted what I wanted, and I wanted to get it done at the time I wanted to get it done, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. However, I was able to complete the game, and that's when I had asked Angel to join me in Skye's place. So Angel, aka Amber, who you probably hear me say often when I'm streaming, same person, just different screen name, decided to help me out and help me finish the game. So she helped me with the commentary and kind of finish the Let's Play, which it was finished. But it was a very uncertain time during that Let's Play, because I wasn't sure, you know, where it was going to go, if it was going to get deleted, and the whole situation almost made me hate the game entirely and almost made me quit. And I never experienced anything to that level since. I've never experienced any sort of hatred or any sort of fight or, you know, issues with collabing with people. It was never that bad, and I have collabed with so many other people since then, and it was a terrible moment. It's something I'm not proud of, but I figured because it's part of the Let's Play, and once you get to that point and while watching the Let's Play, it does mention that, you know, that had happened, but I didn't really elaborate on why. And to make matters even worse, I had made a retaliation video basically saying fuck you, fuck everything you stand for, you know, and being really nasty about it. And I realized how terrible of a move that was, but it also makes me realize why people today make retaliation videos as they do. Like, you could easily sit and watch somebody make something and go like, what the hell was that person thinking when they did it? And I'll tell you what it is. They're not thinking. Because when I made that video against Skye to get back at her, to basically fuel the flames of this entire situation, I was not thinking about anybody's feelings involved. I was not thinking about the repercussion of what this video would have caused. I was angry, and I wanted to fuel everything that had made me angry in a single video directed towards the person that I was fighting with. And in that heat of the moment, I didn't care what anyone thought of it. And I eventually looked back and said, this is a really dumb idea and a dumb move, and I removed the video. So the video was no longer up, unless someone, you know, recorded it and saved it on the internet, but it's no longer up. But it was a pretty dark time early on for my channel. My channel was only around for like, you know, a year by the time that this all had happened. And like I said, I never experienced anything like that since. And if I could, in a heartbeat, I would go back in time and, you know, handle the situation so much more differently. I would try to have talked and communicated better and avoided an all-out war like had happened. I don't even know to this day if she's still on YouTube or if she still makes videos or what, but, you know, I do wish her the best in life, and I hope she's in a better place, and I am sorry for what I did. I regret it, but that's about all I can do. I can't take everything back. I can't fix everything that was broken. It was a bad situation, and I've realized this many years from now. But don't ever do that to somebody, and don't ever make it a thing on the internet. Don't air your dirty laundry. It's not worth it. Handle it as confidently and confidentially as possible, and it'll turn out a lot better than it did. But that was the start of the Fatal Frame series. Was not that great. Not that great at all. So you guys probably can already guess what the next game I'm going to talk about is, but this leads me into Fatal Frame 2. I hate the white on my screen. So Fatal Frame 2. And I actually really liked this game. Like, genuinely liked this game. What is this? Oh! Return this card to Tecmo and you will be eligible to receive free products, promotional items, and the latest insider information. There's no expiration date. I wonder if they'll still do it. That's pretty cool. It's like brand new. So just like my first game, I had to order this one online, and I don't think this one was as pricey, but I think it was still pretty expensive for an older game. So the first Fatal Frame Let's Play I did started in October of 2009, and then we ended it in like July, I think July of 2010, and then we ended up starting this one a year later. So in August of 2011 was when I started Fatal Frame 2. Fatal Frame 2 doesn't have any kind of like significant memory to it. I just always had that, you know, flashback notion of like all of the stuff that happened during my Let's Play of the first Fatal Frame game, and I didn't want that to become a thing again. So I agreed kind of internally that I was going to do this from here on out by myself and not have to worry about having a collaboration with anybody. And I felt really proud of myself during the game and upon completing Fatal Frame 2. I think it was because in the first game I was so terrified and I was collabing to get help throughout the game, and then when I started the second game I was going in blind by myself. So it was terrifying, but I think that fear of the unknown kind of heightened my awareness of what I was doing in the game, and made me think really hard about puzzles, and made me think about the story more and be more involved with what was happening in the game, and like pay more attention to what was going on around me and the characters' names and like the story itself. So in a way, I feel like playing scary games for the first time by yourself does have that effect on you, because you are able to kind of pay attention to, you know, more of what's going on than if you played alongside somebody. It's very easy to get distracted and just kind of like listen to what other people say or suggest, or just kind of like rely on that other person to kind of like help with the commentary and like make comments about the story. That I guess I could say in the simplest form that collabing sometimes is a distraction. So I was really proud to get through this game just originally in its form by myself and complete it without any help, and I felt really good about that. So it is a really cool game, and the story was also really cool because it was the twins, so it was always, you know, Miyu and Mayu, one twin trying to find the other, and going through, you know, the spooky village again, and then having the camera obscura, and it was just overall like a really cool game. And I really enjoyed it. By this time, I don't know if I had a different recording setup or just a better, like just better software, but playing this game you could see a lot clearer than a lot of my other previous Let's Plays, especially the darker ones. So I don't know if I just hit the sweet spot in the settings, so I was able to, you know, really heighten like the graphics and the contrast and the coloration, so it wasn't just so muddy and like blurred out for the entire Let's Play. Like I think Fatal Frame 1 was very like blurred out for the most part. Not as bad as Alone in the Dark, but still pretty dark. Also, something that happened during Fatal Frame 2 when I was recording, because I started it in August of 2011. I started this Let's Play when I was in the process of moving. This was the same year that John and I had started dating. And we started dating in January of, well, yeah, we did start in January, and then we officially hooked up in February of 2011. And by the time November came of that same year, I moved in with him. So when I started this game like late summer, I played so much of it, and then I ended up moving to his house, so I had to change my whole recording setup. I had to kind of drag everything with me, you know, bring the Dazzle. I had a laptop at the time. I, you know, brought all of my games over. So, like, the moving process was very slow, because it's not like I packed everything up and just transferred to another house. And the whole purpose that I moved in with him isn't as obvious either. It's not like, you know, oh, we hooked up and then we moved in together. It wasn't that simple. John's mother at the time was very ill. She had just got out of surgery from having a brain tumor removed. But in the process of having a brain tumor removed, she still had to undergo chemotherapy treatment, and she was still, you know, in therapy, to kind of like, it's not is it still called physical therapy when you're, you know, doing like the workbooks and stuff, or is that a different kind of therapy? I don't remember suddenly. But she was going through that, and she needed help around the house because her short-term memory was like in the same area where the brain tumor was, so it affected a lot of her like memory function. So she couldn't always remember to do stuff around the house. She still needed, you know, help doing things around the house. So when I had moved over in November, I was, you know, helping cook, helping clean. I was also working part-time, and John and I were dating, and I was helping her get to doctor's appointments. It was a lot. It was a lot. And it took many months to get through the game. Not crazy long as Fatal Frame 1, but I started Fatal Frame 2 in August of 2011, and I finished it like January or February of the following year. So it wasn't that crazy, but there were period of times where, you know, I had to kind of like focus on other things and family and then come back and record. But I remember recording specifically for Fatal Frame 2, sitting on the bedroom floor of John's room at the time, and just like this really tiny bedroom, which we don't use for a bedroom anymore. It's just kind of a spare guest room now. And with the TV hooked up, and just kind of like sitting on the uncomfortable carpet playing Fatal Frame 2. And you can probably hear when you watch that game, you might hear some like shuffling and stuff, because I was sitting Indian style on the floor, so I constantly had to like, you know, shuffle from the left to the right because my legs were falling asleep, my butt was falling asleep, you know, and I constantly had to move in between cutscenes. It was just very uncomfortable. Because the bed was too far away from the TV, so I had to sit on the floor with everything hooked up, laying on the floor in order to record that. So that's kind of a funny memory for Fatal Frame 2 that I have. And last but not least to talk about in this video is Fatal Frame 3. Oh, you can't even see with the white light. Why is the white light so bad? So Fatal Frame 3. It's really pretty. I like the cover, how it's very... I don't know if you could even really see the reflection in the water of the girl's face, but I'll let you try to... You can see it at the bottom, but it's just... I love the cover art. It's so pretty. And I like the story. This was also a really good game. I like all three of them. I think if I had to go in order, I would probably go 2, 3, 1, honestly. And I know a lot of people will disagree with that because everyone's like, the first was the best. I think story and involvement and characters and just like everything, I feel like 2, 3, 1. I don't know if 1 being the fact because of the situation that happened didn't really allow me to enjoy the game as much as I would like to. But I just like the premise of this entire game, and again, I had to order this online. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that John actually helped me get this game, because I was living with him at the time, and this Let's Play had started in... When did it start? So February of 2012. So it started in February, and then I finished it that same year in May. So I think this was the quickest I ever completed a Fatal Frame game ever to date. It was literally so insanely fast. And at this time, I was already pretty much, for the most part, settled in, moved in, and still recording this game on the floor of, you know, the bedroom that I was sharing with John, and probably with the same recorder setup and everything. I'm trying to remember exactly when I got the newer recorder. I don't know if I got it later. It might have been that Christmas, honestly, that I got the recorder, because John bought me a new recorder for Christmas where I could put an external hard drive in it. So now that I'm thinking of it, I don't think I had a different recorder for these games, and I was using John's PlayStation 2, which is a modified PlayStation 2. It's like cut into and taped up so you could play like burned games on it. So it was really hit or miss to set up the stuff. So I didn't have like my original PlayStation 2 setup, and it was really iffy. Sometimes I would put the game in and like you have to like, it's really weird. You have to adjust where the laser is. You have to pop the top open because it's modified. So you had to pop the top open, and then you had to start spinning the disc, making sure the laser was touching it, and then close it and turn the thing on. It was really bizarre. But I remember when I think I even used that a little bit for Fatal Frame 2 as well. But when I was using that system, and I remember he told me the directions of it, I was just like, I don't even know if I should operate this without you, because it seems like so many steps that you have to take in order for the thing to work before you can even record it. But then after Fatal Frame 3, I haven't played a Fatal Frame game ever since. At least not Let's Play for the channel. And I know that I've had numerous upon numerous upon numerous upon numerous upon numerous requests to play Fatal Frame 4 and 5. 4 was never released in the United States, and 5 was released on the Wii U. And I remember playing the demo for 5. And the demo was honestly, that was my Twitch follow notifications, in case you were wondering what that was. Because I'm recording on the same system. I got distracted. What was I saying? Oh my god. Oh my god! So I played the demo for 5, and honestly didn't like the demo. And I don't know if it was because I was using like the whole pad with the motion control. Like you had to use it to take like pictures, and so like you always had to like turn it, and like it was just weird and bulky. So I don't know if it'd be worth to go back and experience it without using that, because I think there's an option to turn that off so you don't have to use it like that. But maybe I could do that. As far as 4, people have requested that I play 4. There's 2 problems with that. One is it's not in English, and the only way to get it in English is you have to purchase the game in Japan, and you have to download the patch to your Wii in order to get the English patch with it, so that way you can play it. But you need to have the original game, so you need to have the Japanese game and play it on the Wii with the patch in order to get it in English. And let me tell you, the Japanese copy of Fatal Frame 4 is very expensive, because not only do you have to pay for the game, but you also have to pay for shipping from Japan. It is not that easy to find someone in the United States with a Japanese copy of Fatal Frame 4, because chances are if they have it, they're not selling it. Or if they're selling it for way much. I think the cheapest I ever found the game for was like $80. And our Wii right now is kind of fucked, because John tried doing something with it, and it's been sitting in the basement, and it's not really working that great. And I could do 5, but I didn't, because the demo was kind of terrible in my opinion, but I could always give it another shot. But at least I did the first 3, and I really did like this series, and I feel like it helped me kind of come out of my comfort zone a little bit, because these games, when you play them for the first time and you have no idea what you're doing, are genuinely terrifying. You know, the fact that there's ghosts up in your face, and like there's whole backstories to them, like they murdered people, or they used to be the spirit of someone that was murdered, or like something terrible happened, and sacrifices and all this stuff. And then all you got to do is just like run up as close as possible to them with a camera in their face and take pictures at the last minute. It's all about timing. And I mean, they're really cool games to try. So if you ever get the opportunity to play any of these, I highly recommend it, especially if you really like the horror genre and you really want to get immersed into something with good stories. I recommend these 3 games. You may have to kind of put out some hefty coin to get them, but it's worth it, and they are very nice to add to your collection, as you could see. Well, actually I should do it this way, shouldn't I? Yes. Maybe. Trying to get the right angle. There we go. So, yes. So that was Fatal Frame. The Fatal Frame series. So, I hope I explained everything in detail as I can, and like I previously mentioned with the whole situation with Skye, this isn't to like rehash old wounds. I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm just specifically stating what had happened for people who may not be aware of it. And if you do go back and watch it, now you know the story behind it, you know what has happened. And I wish I could take it back. I wish I could say sorry. And if by some stupid chance that Skye watches this video, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, and I hope you're doing well. But I thank you guys for watching this part, and I hope you enjoyed and found the story of these games a little bit interesting. And I will see you guys in the next part, where we're going to talk about some more games that I haven't quite decided yet. But stay tuned for next time. Until then, take care everybody, have a good one, and bye-bye.